I get a lot of messages from people who love gaming on a budget, but are scared of ending up with a laptop that can't keep up with the latest titles, or that will overheat after an hour of play. That hesitation is real, especially when you see flashy ads promising ultra-smooth 4K gaming, and you wonder if you'll be stuck with a piece of hardware that looks good on paper, but falters in everyday use. The goal of this review is simple. I want to walk you through what it actually feels like to run the Lenovo LOQ 15.6-inch gaming laptop in the wild, point out the trade-offs you might not see in the spec sheet, and help you decide if it's worth your hard-earned cash. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of gamer who would even consider a 15.6-inch machine with a Ryzen 5 7235HS and an RTX 4050. If you're someone who spends most of your gaming sessions on titles like Valorant, Fortnite, or Apex Legends, and you also need to squeeze some work or school projects into the same device, the LOQ hits a sweet spot. It's not a desktop replaceable powerhouse, but it's far beyond a budget notebook that struggles with anything past older indie games. The 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes SSD mean you won't be watching loading bars for minutes, and the SSD speed makes the OS feel snappy when you hop between a Discord call, a spreadsheet, and a multiplayer match. What really matters in a gaming laptop is how the system behaves once the graphics card is cranked up. In my tests, the RTX 4050 held its own at 1080p with medium-high settings in Cyberpunk 2077 for about an hour before the fans kicked into a higher gear. The laptop's thermal design is decent for its size. You'll notice a rise in fan noise, but it never becomes an ear-splitting whine that drowns out in-game audio. The heat under the palm rest stays within a comfortable range, though you'll want to keep the rear vent clear. Placing it on a soft surface like a bed can cause throttling after prolonged sessions. Now, let's address the visual side. The 15.6-inch Full HD panel isn't a high-refresh 144Hz screen, but it does reach 60Hz, which is enough for smooth gameplay in most mainstream titles. The colors are vibrant enough for both gaming and media consumption, and the matte finish reduces glare when you're gaming near a window. If you're a competitive shooter player who craves ultra-high refresh rates, you might feel a bit limited, but for the price bracket, the display does a respectable job. Storage is another practical angle. A 512 gigabytes SSD fills up faster than you'd expect if you install several modern games, each taking 5,070 gigabytes. I found myself offloading a few titles to an external drive after a month of regular play. The good news is the drive is easily upgradable. Just pop the back panel and swap it out. That's a nice hidden advantage for people who like to future-proof their machine without opening a can of worms. The design language of the LOQ is where Lenovo tries to differentiate itself. The Luna Gray finish looks sleek on a coffee table, and the thin bezels give the laptop a modern vibe without making it feel fragile. It's light enough, around 4.4 pounds, to carry around campus or to a LAN party. Yet the chassis feels solid enough to survive the occasional bump. One thing to keep in mind, however, is the keyboard layout. The keys have a shallow travel, which many gamers prefer for faster actuation, but if you're used to a deeper mechanical feel, it might take a few sessions to adjust. The backlighting is a single-zone white, not RGB, which is fine if you don't need flashy lighting, but could be a disappointment for streamers who want a more customizable aesthetic. Battery life on a gaming laptop is always a compromise, and the LOQ is no exception. Expect roughly 3 to 4 hours of mixed usage, some browsing, a bit of video playback, and a short gaming session at low settings. If you plan to game unplugged for extended periods, you'll need to keep the charger handy. That said, for a device that can push an RTX 4050, the battery performance is about what you'd anticipate. Let's talk about value. The LOQ comes in at a price point that sits comfortably below many competing laptops with similar GPU and CPU pairings. The rating on Amazon hovers around 4.1 stars from a modest 12 reviewers, which suggests a generally positive reception but also hints at a small community that might have run into quirks. The most common practical praise you'll hear from owners is the balance between performance and portability. They can game at decent settings without lugging around a 6-pound beast. The most frequent complaint is the lack of a higher refresh display and the storage capacity, both of which we've already covered. Who should buy this laptop? If you're a student or a young professional who wants a single device that can handle both work and play,